Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Himanshu, and I know a bunch of people here, but I think it'll be good to interact with the remainder people that I'm not in touch with, and I'm really pleased to share whatever little that I know, whatever little that I've done in my past. So I currently work with Amdocs, and Amdocs is the world's biggest telecom service provider in terms of applications. So as per the UN data, we have 204 countries globally, and Amdocs operates in 375 telcos in these 204 countries. We provide them telecoms with the recharge softwares, the billing softwares, order management, and CRMs. So the conversation that I would like to have would primarily be around telecom operations. There might just be a few people here who work with telecom, who know what telecom is and how things work. But at the same time, I would just like you to stretch your brains to understand how things work here and maybe plug out some use cases to your own little domains that you have. I will give you an example. I might just not be able to quote the name of the telecom operator. It's an Indian telecom operator which has been on a massive digital transformation journey in the last 10 years. I will give you a quick use case on how things were when the managed services on those digital transformation-based applications started. What was the count of people, how things improved, how things came into perspective. How many of us are from operations, for who operations is bread and butter? Any hands? Good. So what is, maybe if you could like to answer, what is one thing that scares an operations guy? Okay.
Ensuring the lights are on always.
Yeah, it's outage prevention. Okay, so I will move on to a quick picture on the outage trend that we had on that telecom operator post-implementation. I'm talking about August 17, when on an average, in a month, we had 23 outages. And I'm just talking about priority 1, SEV 1s and SEV 2 outages. Now, going from there to April 18, and the remainder of the 60 months here, where there are 0 outages. Did we use some magic? Did we implement some magic to get to that place? The answer is probably no. I think artificial intelligence, enough has been said already, and I really enjoyed what the gentleman before me just mentioned. But end of the day, artificial intelligence is also very much about common sense. It is about making sure that your washing machine washes your clothes without you putting in efforts. It is moving on to ensure that my systems run error-free. This is what an operation demands, and this is probably what even the developers want. They want their code to be efficient on a production system. I will move on to a second insight here, which will be overall service request automation trend. Now, that graph that I showed on automation is exactly inversely proportional to what this is. The outages can come down when your human intervention reduces and your machine takes over. How to get to that place? I will move on to a few other slides, but don't we have SOPs around even the simplest of the things? If we have SOPs around simple things, can that not be put into a script that could be used by the machine so that you do not actually have to look at the screen? Remember those days in the early 2000s when the NOC team was a team when they used to sit and used to continuously monitor and then call the Windows server guy that there seems to be some problem, please check. And coming to a level where the NOC team can also be automated end-to-end. We do not need a physical person to be looking at the screen all the time. With the advent of the incident management tools, with the advent of the ticketing management tools that have come up, the Snows of the world, the BMC remedies of the world, to a large extent, that problem has been addressed. You do not need a person to be staring at a screen for 12 hours a day. Now, how to get your automation score to this level, we'll talk about it. The fundamentals are very simple, and the takeaway from this slide is that it has to be inversely proportional to the slide prior to it. In case it is not inversely proportional, there is something that is missing. The third, headcount. Enough said that artificial intelligence will take away our jobs. Moving on from a 248 people down to 121 as of yesterday, with increasing workload. There's not been a telecom operator which has not seen increase in workload globally, be it the introduction of the IoTs, the machine-to-machine SIMs, the connected cars. Every telecom operator has seen growth. Let's not talk about Vodafone Idea. That was a marriage that was bound to fail. So that's a different story altogether. But globally, the Verizons, the T-Mobiles, we talk about Axiata, you talk about Singtel. Every telecom operator globally has seen growth. And that growth, very surprisingly, we seem to have hit a plateau with the number of subscribers. The penetration has flattened out. How the things are growing is on the IoT part of it. It is on the machine learning machines part of it, the machine-to-machine part of it that is growing right now. Now, with that increasing workload, mapping it to a reduction of headcount can only happen when it is actually a correlation between the slide number 2 and the headcount slide. If you do not automate stuff, the accuracy, how many of you have heard that when you ask for timelines from your manager, you say that I want to get it done like yesterday? Everyone wants it to be done yesterday. No one is ready to give you timelines. Can a human-dependent system actually give you that kind of timeline? You cannot possibly have it. You have to introduce. We as leaders would have to get into a phase where we understand and acknowledge the fact that human dependency has to go down. And that does not mean elimination of L1s. That means increasing the smartness at the level 1s. How, and that is the question. It is very easy said than actually achieved. We have seen a few slides. It was a lot of good work that we've seen happening across the world on generative AI, on the chat GPTs of the world. But end of the day, it has to be a practical, very practical solution that you give to your organization. If you do not give a practical solution to the organization, we as leaders would fail. Okay, so this is the monitoring landscape transformation that we have done for that telecom operator. It's a private cloud. In India, we are the telecom operators and the banking. If some of us are from BFSIs, we cannot do two things. We are very much governed by the DOTs, Department of Telecoms, the TRAIs, the National Payment Council of India, the RBI guidelines. The data is geofenced. You cannot take the data out of the mainstream mainland of India. Now, for that, the banking and the telecom specifically have to ensure that majority, 95%, 97% of their applications have to run on a private cloud. There has to be a guarantee. So the ask here was that, can I take my transactional data out of India or during the implementation of a tool like ServiceNow, for instance, in which I do not put in CDRs. CDRs are the call directory, because I'll just come to that. Can I take my customers' data out of India? Customers' transactional, only my name and my phone number maybe. Can I take it out of India? The answer that we got from TRAI was no. It has to be geofenced within the geography of the mainland India. So we have to ensure and we have to agree that the banking and the telecom will always and always run geofenced on a private cloud, unless a public cloud gives me an assurance that they are not going to take it out of India, and no public cloud has ever dared to give me that assurance yet. So this telecom operator, 32,000 virtual machines as a baseline. The bifurcation here that was done on the application layer, on the app admin layer, and the data center layer. So this is how the traditional tools were eliminated, and with the help of some OEMs that that actually went in to try and solve the problems of the telecom operators. This is the landscape. Now, these are the various tools. The simple configuration was that all these tools have one thing in common. They throw out those SNMP traps. Now, the SNMP traps have to be captured at a visualization layer and at a ticketing layer. This is the only thing that was done. So tools like App Dynamics, Watchman, Telegraph, Solace, all throwing out SNMP traps, being captured at a visualization layer. Visualization could be an SPOG, it could be a Kibana, a Grafana. We all are very fond, we've heard a lot about the ELK stack. Capturing that data at the ELK layer and at the work layer where tools like ServiceNow, integration with Telegram. Telegram is a very effective tool. A bot communication that can happen with a Telegram cannot happen. And what is a bot communication with Telegram? It is a chat GPT. You do not have a brain, but at least you could have a conversation. It could be a conversation of a Telegram group of all of us. And then the bot could tell you that, stop the conversation, there is something that is not working right. Let's utilize it. Very simple capturing of those SNMP traps, freeware, no money involved, not a penny to be spent, just the brains to be spent. Capturing those, integrating with Telegram, a Telegram and a Microsoft Teams could interact with each other. Telegram could just send out that notification that, okay, the last time I saw these 3 alerts, A, B, and C, 40 minutes later, there was an outage in the system. Can you prevent it right now? Outage prevention is what can be used here. And in case, as an operations person, you have an outage prevention plan, I think 50% of the battle is won. If in case you still think that those 40 minutes are too less, probably get on tweaks of your existing infrastructure. Can we increase at the compute level? Can we have multi-threading? Can we have more memory supplied to it? Maybe could we have a more I/O, replacing a traditional storage with an SSD, for instance? Can we have a Veritas cluster to support on a very high engaging numbers so that my outages could be taken care of? Those 40 minutes could be increased to 50 minutes, and then an outage could be prevented wholesale. Ironman is another tool that I think you could all be using. It again is a freeware tool. We all would like a bot calling us rather than a human being calling us when an outage actually happens, or when a predictive outage is that you predicted that outage could happen. It's an automated freeware that you could be using. Up to 200 people could be engaged onto it. It could give you all free callouts, eliminating the requirement of a physical knock person to be calling you out. I will move on to the principle of marriage of an infrastructure app, alerting, and the SOPs, and how to get there. But a few things that I would like to add on. I'll talk about a CDR. So in telecom, billing is considered to be one of the most complex things. Okay, I could be moving out of my office in Gurgaon, latching onto tower A, latching onto the tower for 1 minute and 41 seconds, and then moving on to tower B, where I latch on to 2 minutes, then move on to tower C. I'm on my way. I could be crossing state borders. I could be, for instance, in European Union, I could be crossing country borders. The amount of minutes that are latched onto a tower A in country A, state A, or province A could be charged at a different VAT or taxation levels as the other one. An example here would be that in Brazil, in South America, we have Telefonica, which is one of the very big telecom providers there. In Brazil, there are about 50 provinces. Like we have 28 states, we have 50 provinces there. Every state has a different taxation structure. And creating a bill for that call would just become a little complex. And then adding on that this is just one call that I'm doing, the one I'm moving from Gurgaon, crossing state borders, crossing international borders. And there would be a bunch of calls that you do in a month, in a day. And now to add on to the misery of telecom operators, you could just be using your mobile data while you're talking. You could be sending out an SMS while you're talking. This all gets captured in a call directory record. Now, every telecom operator has to save it for 7 years as per the government guidelines. 7 years, you have to make sure that everything gets captured, because the example here would be that while I was working with a telecom operator, we helped capture Burhan Wani from Anantnag based on his call directory records, where he latched on, and then eventually understanding what location he was on, and eventually getting that information passed on to IB, and then the Indian Army, and then the entire operation took place. So the CDRs are important. They have to be saved, and it is massive data. It is the definition of big data to begin with. So how to ensure that the data silos, what the gentleman before me was talking about, that data silo also doesn't happen. And at the same time, the data is produced, it's reproduced whenever it is needed. I cannot give the Supreme Court a guideline that I'll give you this data after the elections. If an information, if the IB has to ask for a data, it has to be done on the spot. It will be a race against time. I'm sure every one of us would agree. So the chat GPTs, can it help us trace down that data from the big data that we have? It is very, very imperative for us to understand that till the time we do not have an understanding where this data is kept, and we do not train the LLMs, we'll never be able to get to that place. Till the time we don't teach a language to our kids, they are alien to that language. This is a kid, new kid on the block. Now, one more argument that I've seen is that people losing jobs as soon as this AI is implemented, or we would be redundant in our organization if things don't go as what it is. But think of it in a different fashion. We as leaders have this responsibility to think of it in a very different fashion. Did people lose jobs after the Industrial Revolution? We became more efficient, no? The tools which we were doing manually, the plowing of fields that we were doing manually after the Iron Age, we started using those iron tools instead of the wood tools. Did our outputs, farm outputs, did those increase? They did. After the Industrial Revolution, did bottling become more efficient? It became not just efficient, it became germ-free. There were industries that got marginalized during that duration when Industrial Revolution. Think of AI as an industrial revolution that we are going to witness. Think of it as your friend, not a competitor. On tweaks of your existing infrastructure, can we increase at the compute level? Can we have multi-threading? Can we have more memory supplied to it? Maybe could we have a more I/O, replacing a traditional storage with an SSD, for instance? Can we have a Veritas cluster to support on a very high engaging numbers so that my outages could be taken care of? Those 40 minutes could be increased to 50 minutes, and then an outage could be prevented wholesale. Ironman is another tool that I think you could all be using. It again is a freeware tool. We all would like a bot calling us rather than a human being calling us when an outage actually happens, or when a predictive outage is that you predicted that outage could happen. It's an automated freeware that you could be using. Up to 200 people could be engaged onto it. It could give you all free callouts, eliminating the requirement of a physical knock person to be calling you out. I will move on to the principle of marriage of an infrastructure app, alerting, and the SOPs, and how to get there. But a few things that I would like to add on. I'll talk about a CDR. So in telecom, billing is considered to be one of the most complex things. Okay, I could be moving out of my office in Gurgaon, latching onto tower A, latching onto that tower for 1 minute and 41 seconds, and then moving on to tower B, where I latch on to 2 minutes. Then move on to tower C. I'm on my way. I could be on tweaks of your existing infrastructure. Can we increase at the compute level? Can we have multi-threading? Can we have more memory supplied to it? Maybe could we have a more I/O,